Wow, everybody. Welcome to the Matrix. Now, of course, everybody's heard of this claim that Trump and Melania now have CV-19. Now, I couldn't believe my eyes when I saw this. I knew that they would pull a Trump card out in the weeks leading up to this whole thing, to the election. But this was the last thing that I would have expected to see. Now, here's the zinger, and then we'll get into the rest of the today's show topic. But the zinger is that they're trying to say that this came from Hope Hicks, one of the president's closest senior advisors. And they're saying here that she was in contact with Trump on Thursday, yesterday. This is where he would have, quote unquote, contracted it. So I did the math. And if in fact he got it yesterday, he tested positive for it today. But if he got it yesterday, that would put this at 33 days out from the election. You can't make this up. 33 is half of 66, of course. He's on the 66th floor penthouse, and on and on and on. 33,000 square foot penthouse. We also decoded the 33 that's encoded in Trump Tower when you see it from the sky view. There's 3 and 3 blocks on each side, 33. This just goes on and on. Now, if this doesn't wake people up, I don't know what will. They've invested trillions of dollars, ruining the economy, sending out trillions of dollars in checks, most of those going to corporations, shut down the small businesses, decimated by this. They spent billions more, almost $1 trillion, developing the VC that now they're finding out very few people will end up taking. So what better way to garner the base than to pull out the Trump card and just say that the president has it? Now, what do you think Trump supporters are going to do now? If they truly believe that he does have it, which if you're a diehard Trump supporter, you'll believe them. You'll believe him, right? Why would he lie? They'll run out and get the VC. This is what I've been telling you guys was going to happen. I've been telling you that the Trump supporters will get the VC some way, somehow. He's invested too much money into all this for nobody to take it. So this is the Trump card. I'll just say I have it and Melania has it. That'll make people go get it. And if that scenario doesn't play out, here's what they might do. They might fake his death and then have him miraculously recover the deadly head wound, right? And I guess time will tell about all this. But how convenient. 33 days before the election, he contracts CV-19, or they say he has. And this is after he went an entire year with no social distancing, rarely wearing masks, rallies, and then all of a sudden, 33 days before the election, wow, you got to be fast asleep to believe what these people are dishing out. So, what's the word on all this? Well, I'm going to condense all of this down for you in today's show. And I'm going to explain to you what America, our political system, our leaders, and even our major cities are really all about. You see, the Big Apple, New York, is the fruit that God told Eve not to eat. And the towers were the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And when they came down, the sulfuric molecule Freedom Tower of Babel, that was the sulfur that destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. LA, Los Angeles, that's the city of fallen angels. And Las Vegas was named after the fertile Nile Delta, the green in the desert, the land of Goshen, ancient Egypt. Atlantic City, AAC, Antichrist. They're all sin cities. They all represent defiance and disobedience, and those who make gold and silver their idols. Now, based on some people's reactions to last night's montage that we're going to cover today, there are still some that are in denial. Even when faced with all of the exact same symbols and clues that we've been talking about for the last year, they're all showed up miraculously in this 1998 film. How can that be? I'm not a prophet. I just see the synchronicities. And lo and behold, we got Copper. We got Cyrus. We've got Trump's Taj Mahal Casino where this was filmed. God keeps showing us the clues over and over and over again. Yet, some are still holding on to their hope in Trump. They're still holding on to their right-left paradigm. They're that stuck that they can't see this for what it is. I even had one comment that said that evil people used Project Looking Glass to see Trump's future presidency and tried to ruin it by depicting him in a negative way in films before he took office. Wow. So I guess that's why Trump agreed to allow them to film The Devil's Advocate, The Dark Knight Rises, Snake Eyes, and The Wolf of Wall Street in Trump Tower and the Taj Mahal and Kushner's 666 Fifth Avenue? Come on. Wake up. The snake has been revealed, and we let him in. Okay, so let's get into some of the details of this montage. I want to make sure we're connected first. I will pin all links to the show inside of the pinned comment. And it looks like we are connected. Let's keep going with this. This is nuts. So, someone actually, we're going to just break all this down because somebody actually came on here and said, this is ridiculous. Just because Trump's hands match Nicolas Cage's doesn't mean he's Snake Eyes. I mean, are you in third grade? Obviously, that one thing won't make him Snake Eyes, but this is where people turn their brains off. Okay? They turn their brains off. They don't listen to the rest of the evidence. They see one little thing that they think is ridiculous, and they'll focus on that. That's called cognitive dissonance. Let's keep going. Now, much of Snake Eyes was filmed right inside Trump's Taj Mahal, 8 years after it opened. And what you're going to notice is all the 58s surrounding the Taj Mahal Casino and in the film Snake Eyes. The Taj Mahal even exists, it even has this number 58 inside the coordinate. Let's pull that up. The latitude coordinate right there, 58. Now, this thing alone doesn't mean anything, but once you see all the 58s surrounding the Taj Mahal and the film Snake Eyes, and of course in Trump's life, that is where this will all begin to sink in for you. Because not only is there this 58 in the coordinate, the film Snake Eyes released in the Hebrew year 58, which is 1998 in our calendar. So this was very specific. This was very intentional, I might say. So let's keep going with the montage. Now, this is crazy because way back in 1990, long before maybe Trump's first announcement of the presidency was like in the 80s, maybe he was talking about running. But even back then, you know, I don't know how you can call a person like this a Christian. He's got Russian mobsters running around, and this is what the FBI, they had no reason to like make this up, is what I'm trying to say, right? He wasn't running for any office at that time. Why would they make something like this up? So obviously, all of these mobsters were running around. This was the place to be. Atlantic City and Trump's Taj Mahal. And of course, that's depicted in Snake Eyes because it was filmed at the Taj Mahal and they had to depict the Russian mobsters.
Lincoln and I have come to an understanding.
So that was Lincoln, and he's a boxer. Now let me give you a little bit of the backdrop of this movie and how it all plays out, okay? And we'll get into the penny aspect of this as well. Now, these guys are obviously Russian. They're obviously mobsters, and they're obviously in Trump's casino. So, okay, like, that's not a stretch, right? So here's the backdrop. Nicolas Cage is a cop. He's like a beat cop, but he thinks that he's something that he's not. All about money. He's a corrupt cop. He's into gambling, and he's like the gold cop. It looks like he's the Trump character, and he kind of is. And they like to massage all these characters together. They like to mix and match. That gets the chaos going, right? So you're going to see him depicted across several characters. He's all three of these characters. He's Lincoln, the boxer who fakes the knockout punch, which is the guy you see right here on the screen. He also plays, part of him is Gary Sinise, who is like the deep state guy in this film, who is also Snake Eyes. And then the other person, of course, is Nicolas Cage. Now, Nicolas Cage plays a cop. Obviously, Trump's not a cop, but you get the point. And maybe the cop angle has something to do with maybe something we're not aware of. In terms of maybe why he didn't have to pay taxes. Maybe he was a federal employee a long time ago. There's all kinds of aspects to this. Trump is not who he says he is. And if you talk to people individually that have known, that have been around for decades and decades, that have been in and out of these casinos, who have known Trump personally or come in contact with him, they'll tell you that. They'll laugh at the fact that he's trying to depict himself as a Christian leader because they know it's not true. His whole life was corruption. And we'll get into some of that later in this video. But to people, but there's not enough of those people that come forward who have a voice or a platform to talk to be able to wake people up, because the power, the deception is so strong because of his charisma and his show, The Apprentice, which was very popular, which drew a lot of people in, right? And what are really people looking for when they watch The Apprentice? What are they really looking? What is the real appeal of that show? It is, wow, if I could be like Trump and be rich, if I could just get a piece of what he represents, if I could just touch him, if I could just figure out a way to be around him enough for him to teach me. And Trump scammed a lot of people. He had programs where he had courses where he told people they could be rich and they would give their life savings to sign up for these courses and never saw a dime. And of course, he'll blame them for it. But really, the problem is the matrix that we're in. There's a glass ceiling. Nobody gets through, especially somebody giving their life savings away to learn a course on how to get rich. It doesn't work that way. So, if you sense frustration in my voice, it's because people are not awake and they're falling right into the trap. So, let's keep going with this.
Lincoln and I have come to an understanding.
And of course, there's all these references going back. This is 2011. Many, many times they talk about Snake Eyes and Trump. Here, Trump's first casino partners had alleged mob ties. So it's not me calling him Snake Eyes. He's admitting it. Even his win for the election bid, they call it Snake Eyes. Operation Snake Eyes in Phoenix, the United States Marshals busted a bunch of violent offenders.
Wrong attitude about all this, Cyrus.
So, Nicolas Cage is this beat cop, and there is one of the senators gets taken out during this, or I think it was the Secretary of Defense, I'm sorry, gets taken out during this boxing match. And Nicolas Cage is there, he's in like the front row, and he's sitting next to Gary Sinise, who's security for the Secretary of Defense. And it all plays out. The secretary gets taken out by an assassin. And then the whole rest of the film is Gary Sinise trying to cover his tracks because he was in on it, but he was best friends with Nicolas Cage, and Nicolas Cage has no idea what's going on, and Nicolas Cage is trying to solve the crime. So by the end of it, both Snake Eyes come together. There's your Gemini aspect. Two sides of the same coin. The good cop and the bad cop. Let's keep watching.
Cyrus? You gotta keep positive. See, when we have these little visits.
Now, so basically Nicolas Cage grabs this guy who's just in the casino. He's a pretty popular actor, actually. Let's see if we can pull him up. Snake Eyes. This is the guy that plays Cyrus. So even Cyrus is part of the Trump character, obviously, in this. Luis Guzman, he plays Cyrus. And of course, we saw Trump on the Cyrus coin. And we'll get into that a little bit later in the show because this is crazy. So October 22nd, Luis Guzman was born. He's now 63 years old. He plays Cyrus. And for some reason, he's got a pocket full of copper top batteries. Now, I'm sure there's some movie explanation as to why those batteries are in his pocket, but as you see the camera pan down, you begin to understand that there's some meaning to this. See the blue tarp? Blue Bloods, copper top. It's right there in your face. Now, we covered the Lincoln penny. The copper penny. We covered the copper Statue of Liberty. And we talked about the copper snake of Exodus that was raised up on a pole. We talked about the hemocyanin copper blue blood angle. Cyan means blue. And hemocyanin is the blue blood that actually is real. That's what it's called. In like mollusks and shellfish and octopus and squid and spiders and centipedes. Is it starting to sink in yet what this is really all about? And now I think we finally figured out what the copper batteries really mean. This is going to blow you away. Because more than any other time in human history, I'm going to make this bigger so you could see this. And I was shocked to find this. This just popped into my head. Well, it didn't just pop into my head. We know how these things come about, right? Those of us who have faith. God wants us to deliver a message. He delivers it through his followers. I'm a follower of God and his son. So therefore, he's going to reveal things to you. I have an audience. There are things he wants communicated to you. That doesn't make me a prophet. That makes me somebody who follows God. Any one of you, and in fact, any one of you do contribute to this channel. Most of the information from this channel comes from you. You're all part of the process. You're all part of it. So this isn't self-aggrandizement. This isn't, me trying to say I'm somebody special, because I'm not. I'm just the conduit. Look at this. And somebody sent this to me, and that's why it popped into my head too, because somebody sent this to me. They're like, Casey, for the first time in human history, copper will be in its highest demand since the dawn of man. Why is that? Because it is a necessary component for 5G Whiz. There it is right there. Even though it's wireless tech, its deployment will involve a lot more fiber and copper cable to connect equipment, both within the radio access network domain and back to the routing and core network infrastructure. Furthermore, 5G Whiz will require many more antennas than 4 ever did. Do you see what's happening? Millions of 5G Whiz antennas and the copper infrastructure. We are in a new Bronze Age. So why is Cyrus's pockets full of batteries? Well, I'm going to break that down for you. Copper originally went by the name Cyprium, because much of it was mined in Cyprus, which sounds a lot like Cyrus. And in fact, the Persian Empire, and we'll get into that, did conquer Cyprus at one time. I think it was later than Cyrus, but his children conquered it. So, Cyprus, or Cyrus, is really a play on the word Cyprus, which is where much of the world's copper was mined and what copper was named after. Here it is right here. Copper. Let me show you. Because people, they just think everything's a stretch these days. Not all people. I should stop saying that. Right here. In the Roman era, copper was mined principally on Cyprus. Principally. Cyprus, Cyrus. The origin of the name of the metal from AES Cyprium, metal of Cyprus, later corrupted to cuprum. This is where the name copper, so copper essentially means Cyrus. Unbelievable. A lot of digging to find the roots of all this, but there it is in black and white. The ancient copper top country, Cyprus. And the coming copper era, which is 5G Whiz under the new Cyrus, which is Trump. Right there on the coin, Balfour Declaration. Can't make this up.
I allow you, I permit you, I give you the opportunity to pay for all the extra police work that you create.
Gee, that's a new one, mister.
You are...
Now, the original ancient Cyrus the Great founded the Persian cult of Mithraism. And what that was, let me go here to the article on that. This is crazy. I can't even believe this. So, this is the ancient Achaemenid Empire, the origins of Cyrus the Great. He founded this empire. And basically, this is where it all comes full circle. Remember? Sol Invictus, Statue of Liberty, is Mithra. It's Apollo. It's Sol Invictus. It's all of the sun worshippers. And basically what they did, this Mithraic cult, which links directly into King Cyrus the Great. This was a counterfeit Christianity whose sole purpose was to try and to predate the events surrounding Christ's coming, his first coming, in an attempt to discredit his sacrifice. Now, there were no metaphors or overlays before Christ came. Mithraism was set up before Christ, but there were no metaphors to Christ's life until after Christ left. But the Persian Empire was perfectly set up to try and counterfeit Christ. Why? Because historical records state that King Cyrus released the Jews from captivity, and he was tolerant of many religions. Now we know why a certain country hails Cyrus as a great king and compares him to Trump, Sol Invictus, Apollo, Mithra. Here's the problem. He might have released the Jews from Babylonian activity, but the Persians themselves worship the sun, the moon, and the wind. And it wasn't until after Christ came that Mithraism tried to counterfeit Christ's sacrifice by hijacking the events of his life into their cult practices while trying to claim that they predated Christ's coming. So, what good is a king who does not stand for the one and only true God? What good is a pagan king, even if he did let the Jews go? What good is he? So, comparing Trump to Cyrus is not a good thing. He freed the Jews, but he served a different master, just like Trump. Let's keep watching this. Now, here's another clue. What are trumpets made out of? Brass and copper.
Sunshine on the stormy.
So here he says, he walks up to this model who carries, what do they call the girls who carry the number of the round, right? The number of the round, which is the 7th round. And there's all kinds of 7s associated with Trump as well. But I didn't want to go into that because I didn't want to muddy the waters. I wanted this to be a very direct video, okay? So you can see how Hollywood works in writing all this stuff. So the girl here, the woman here, who's carrying the round cards, Nicolas Cage hits on her. All right, and he tells her, "You are the sun on a stormy day." Obviously, that's a reference to Stormy Daniels, Trump's squeeze. I don't know what year that allegedly happened. Maybe it was 1998. I don't know.
Story.
Hey, you should work in the casino.
Oh, I'm gonna. I mean, I
Yeah.
wanna. This is just sort of, temporary.
Let me make a few phone calls.
Would you?
Yeah, do you know how to deal blackjack?
No.
I'm on TV. I'm on TV.
So he asks her if she wants to work in the casino, and like he owns the casino or something. There's another Trump clue. And then he gets on TV. This is all Trump. Trump loves being on TV, right?
For Christ's sake, I'm on in 30 seconds, will ya?
I think people would vote for this face, don't you? I think people would vote for this face, don't you?
I think people would vote for this face.
Lying people. That's the only way you get anywhere these days. You gotta get your big, fat smile all over the tube. Hi, Rick Santoro. Hello, Richard Santoro. Hi.
Pulls out a golden Apollo phone.
Hello? Oh, yeah, no, hi, babe. No, I just had something stuck in my throat. Lincoln, how you doing? Good to see you again, eh?
of course, all the iPet Goat 2 Lincoln revelations. Now, Monday's show is going to be, I couldn't even believe it when Jory sent me this information regarding Abraham Lincoln appearing in the BioShock video game. And they depict him as a clown with devil horns. We're going to get into all that on Monday. The BioShock video game. I got some gameplay I want to show you guys. And we're going to break down this whole thing with Abraham Lincoln and how that fits into what's happening right now. Did you know that Abraham Lincoln had the first Air Force? He sure did. During the Civil War. What they did is they would launch these balloons filled with hydrogen, and they would find out the Confederate positions and the strength of the troops. They would then report that back down from the balloon with Morse code. And this is probably part of the way that he won. There was also the first aircraft carrier, where they would take these balloons and move them around on barges. See how this works? See how it's all coming first full circle? It all fits together. And this, Lincoln didn't get on the $5 bill until like 1914. But look at these early $5 bills. The same gods. Sol Invictus, Apollo, Zeus. This is crazy. So, this is Jupiter, but in the Greek, it's Zeus, Apollo's father, with lightning. Lucifer came like lightning from heaven. This $5 bill came out after Lincoln, and and it came out after the Statue of Liberty. So they were channeling the Statue of Liberty, Sol Invictus, which is Apollo. So you got the Father, you've got the Son, holding up the light, the lamp. And then you've got the trumpet, which is Fame. This is the goddess Fame, which is the goddess of blackmail and rumors, basically. This is how they control. And this is a real $5 bill from the late 1800s, before Lincoln was put on it. See the number 5 again? The number 5. Let's keep going.
What, am I supposed to know you?
Lincoln, you're hurting my feelings, and after I dropped 10 grand on you.
You know what? I think it would show more respect.
That's against Lincoln.
And secretaries expressing outrage over the sale of missile systems and other weaponry to Israel.
The sale of missile systems and other weaponry to Israel.
Now, spending on support of this country is at an all-time high under this president. And before the ink dried on the Abraham Accord, right? Abraham Lincoln, is it all tying together now? They asked for 8 additional billion on top of the 38 billion they were getting. Does this sound like a peace deal to you? Sure doesn't sound like one to me. What's 38 plus 8? 46. The year Trump was born. Unbelievable. So, people say, oh, in order to have peace, you have to have a strong defense. I thought this was a peace deal.
Missile systems and other weaponry to Israel.
So the way that the plot kind of like materializes is, so they have this cover story. They say that this guy was up in the stands and basically broke through and basically had the ability to take out the secretary, right? And they had this whole cover story for this single lone person that did this, right? But then Nicolas Cage is on the case, and eventually by the end of the movie, the two come together. Nicolas Cage realizes it's his best friend, and his best friend realizes that he can no longer lie to him, and that's what we're going to get to right now.
Lincoln, you're hurting my feelings.
What for?
35. What?
Now we're going to look at some of the numbers, and he types in 38 and he punches in 35 for him, and obviously there's a 58 there. 5 and 8. Then the camera pans away and it looks at the numbers going by as they go down, and it shows the number 33. That gives us confirmation of how to read this. 33, 58. Let's keep watching. There's the Taj Mahal. Unreal. 5 and an 8. Remember the 5? That's the $5 bill. 8 years after this opened. 58.
35-17.
35-17. Watch.
It's my room, damn it!
Hi.
Please just look for yourself.
It's my room, damn it!
5 plus 3 is 8. 1 plus 7 is 8. 88. Boom. Now, what I didn't show you in this montage is this. On the 18th page of the script, they mention JFK. There's your Q angle. And there you can read with your own eyes. And of course that directly links back into Lincoln, because they both got taken out the exact same way. So we're told. I don't know what to believe anymore. And on the door is the 17. That's Q. Alphanumerically. Let's keep going with this.
Hi.
Please just look for yourself.
Okay. She has the inference.
I need you to look at the heat flashes here at the moment of impact.
Okay. So here, Carla Cugino, or Cugino is her name. She's the actress. She's trying to warn the secretary that this secret device that they have, that the deep state is trying to push through, but it's got bugs in it. So they got to take the secretary out because he's not on board with defense and protecting soldiers, right? See the deep state versus the political angle, which is another false paradigm. It's not real, but they want you to think it's real so they can bring a president who says he's going to do something about it, who really doesn't and never will because he's part of it. So they have this device that's supposed to be able to be a defense platform. And I'm trying to speak around things because of YouTube, so bear with me, okay? But look at this. It's twin snake eyes, right? Twin explosions here. And listen to what she says, because I think this directly links into what happened on Blind 11 with the two towers. Which, of course, hadn't happened yet in 1998.
Because they rigged it, Mr. Secretary.
Because they rigged it, Mr. Secretary.
Well, because they rigged it, Mr. Secretary.
If the air guard is made full
car.
intercept like it's supposed to, there will be one dot, but there's two every time. The target blows up, but the air guard never gets within 10 meters.
Then why would the target blow up?
They put on a fireworks display for you.
They put on a fireworks display for... I mean, you can't make this up. They're telling you what was gonna happen, but nobody saw it. Because it's fiction. But it's not really fiction, it's really the truth.
Fireworks display for you. The air guard doesn't work. And the company knows the system doesn't work, but they're pushing it through anyway. Well, because they rigged it, Mr. Secretary. Well, because they rigged it, Mr. Secretary.
Started playing political games with real soldiers' lives. He forced Powell into an early test. He positioned the system to fail because he didn't want to pay. Charles Kirkland was a politician, a baby kisser, not a soldier. Snake Eyes.
So there's your deep state angle, the paradigm that they want you to accept, that there are two factions ruling government, further dividing people, further breaking down and dividing us into belief systems so that we'll just continue to trust government in general. They've already got the government divided into red and blue, right and left. Now they're going to divide it into deep state and politicians. I mean, this is crazy.
The House wins.
Now, the House always wins when the people in the casino are perfectly divided 50-50. That's when the House wins. Trump knows that because he's run casinos. And that's exactly what he became, the trump card, to divide America exactly in half. He's one of the only presidents that's been able to do it.
Ain't no way, Kevin. You got snake eyes. Put the gun down, sir. Drop the gun, sir.
Today in Brighton Park, Richard Santoro.
So, the psyop here is they're both calling each other Snake Eyes, but really they're one and the same. Obviously, the ending shows that Nick Cage actually wins, but really he doesn't. Okay, but this is the psyop. It's to make you subliminally believe that Trump is good. He's going to go after the deep state just like Nick Cage did. Wow. This is deep stuff. And you know, who are the people that who's the voting base? That would be people who probably saw this movie. This was like the number 1 or number 2 movie of 1998. I remember the movie. I was a little bit younger. But the Trump's base would be people who saw this movie. Nick Cage was a very popular actor during that era. So this is all subliminal. It comes up in your subliminal mind. And if they do enough of these movies, and every single one of them contains this kind of sorcery, then you find yourself living in a matrix. You're living a reality that you don't even realize you're living because you've been brainwashed.
Atlantic City's new police hero received a Special Valor Award for heroism.
I know you may not want to see it right now, but it's true. It's gonna be...
Okay, so she's the hopeful idiot, right? And listen to this dialogue very carefully, because she's the one talking about the deep state. She's talking about the indictments. These are like the Q supporters right here. Listen to this woman. This is exactly who she is. And of course, Nicolas Cage knows. He's like, nothing's going to change. You're an idiot.
Special Valor Award for heroism.
I know you may not want to see it right now, but it's true. It's going to be so different in Atlantic City. The whole system is being dumped. The company's being completely restructured. There are going to be all sorts of indictments up and down the administration, and things have really changed.
You know, they say back 200-300 years ago, pirates put phony lighthouses right out by those big rocks. Ships would set a course by the lights, crash on the rocks, then everybody go out and rob them blind. Only one thing's changed since then. Lights are brighter.
Who is the lighthouse that's robbing everybody blind? That would be the Statue of Liberty. You get it now? Mithra. They just spelled it out for you right there. Now, this last part, this is the end credits. You got to watch these things till the end because every little bit of it is coded. So, you'll recognize her voice. This is Meredith Brooks. And she sang that song, I'm a B-I-T-C-H. Remember that song? That's Meredith Brooks. Now, listen to the lyrics of this song. Let me see if I can pull it up here. Where'd I put that? Here it is. She wrote this song, Sin City. I'm going to read you the lyrics. In this town of pain, you could be the lucky one. Fate turns on a dime. The only thing that will change are the lights. And when they get brighter, they replace the sun. Out the door, you get burned, and there's no way back in. You got nothing, Snake Eyes. The house always wins. A drowning man does not die silently. You can feel the final warning, and the black money follows through the veins of the shallow. Change the name to protect the guilty. That's what they did in this movie. You'll never leave Sin City where you are king. In this room of shame, you could sink this town and breathe another day. The mirror faces you. You cannot look away. That's your Gemini reference right there, Janice. Trump staring into his own mirror on the set of The Apprentice in his corporate chair facing the sun mirror of Apollo. Right there. It's right there. If you just bother to look it up. Blood is on your hand. The streets will be the same. Under your feet like quicksand, touch the face where the kiss of hope can last. Those are the lyrics. I'm going to play this.
Sin City, where you are king. Money follows through the veins of the shallow. Change the name to protect the guilty. In this room of shame, you could sink this town and breathe another day. The mirror faces you. You cannot look away. Blood is on your hand. The streets will be the same. And the black money follows through the veins of the shallow.
Now, when was Meredith Brooks born? 1958. Another 58.
Where you are king. Are king. Oh.
So, what's up with the Ruby? Well, Gary Sinise is working with these people to carry out how they're going to take out the Secretary of State while he's watching the boxing match, right? And there's this woman with red hair, and she becomes a distraction. Gary Sinise follows her, but he's working with her, but he ends up taking her out too because things start to fall apart. So he's got to cover his tracks. Well, she has this red ruby. After they take her out, they bury her in concrete. Why is that important? Well, a different mob, I think it was the Italian, it might have been the Russian mob too. They're the ones that helped Trump build Trump Tower. It was all done with mob concrete, which no one could understand during the time this happened. Why? Because none of the buildings were being built with concrete at that time. But Trump decided he was going to use the much more expensive concrete, therefore placing himself firmly in the concrete that was controlled by the mob. Do you think he wouldn't owe these people something? Do you think that they just did this just to do it? Why would you want to work with criminals? I wouldn't. So he's got Russian mob at his Atlantic City casino, the Taj Mahal. He's got the Italian mob in New York City for the Trump Tower. Keep making excuses is all I can say. So, what's up with this red ruby? Well, the red ruby could mean other things as well. There's all kinds of things surrounding the red ruby when it comes to Kabbalah. It's supposed to be for like a woman who can't get pregnant. And so this being on this pillar could have been talking about the birthing in of the one Freedom Tower with the destruction of the two. So you get rid of Gary Sinise, you get rid of why do I always forget his name? Nick Cage. You combine the two into one pillar, and the Kabbalah talks about this red ruby being the birthing in. Women who cannot give birth wear this red ruby. So, who really is Snake Eyes in the film? Well, it's a combination of characters. But do you remember the door with the number 88 on it? Well, I think that tells us who the real Snake Eyes is. Because when you take Trump's birthday and you subtract 88 days, you get Gary Sinise's birthday. Almost. It's like one day off. But a lot of these people were born at different hours of the day. Gary Sinise was born March 17th. And 88 days before Trump's birthday was Gary Sinise's birthday. Within a day. 1955, might I add. He's the deep state assassin in Snake Eyes. So, we'll have to see how all this pans out. But I just presented you some pretty damaging evidence. Synchronicities that seem to be undeniable. That seem to point to something deeper taking place in fictional entertainment. Something is not right. And I hope we can get to the bottom of it. Hope you guys enjoyed the show and got something out of this. We're about at 50 minutes. I'm going to end the show here. We'll be back on Monday talking about BioShock, the video game, with some gameplay, showing you the Lincoln Demon and confirming a lot of the things, the early suspicions we had about Abraham Lincoln. And we just keep getting more and more confirmation of that. The red balloons, Pennywise, it all fits together, you guys. Anyway, I love each and every one of you, and we'll see you on Monday. Take care and be safe, you guys.